Sebastian, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today.
Thank you, Ruben.
You have many years experience in IP in Chile, working for one of the largest patent firms there. How is the current COVID-19 situation impacting IP in general, and which are the major changes you've seen in the last few months?
Well, it has impacted definitely budgets on IP companies. In generally speaking, on IP, some companies have reduced their budgets, especially for trademarks, since their businesses have been closed for many months because of the lockdown. So for the same reason is that their budgets on IP, especially in trademark protection, haven't been a priority. Their priority is just surviving these months. We've been in lockdown since March, basically, so it's been a while that we've been able to, I don't know if we're gonna have that normal life, or will be a new normality after all this, but yeah, at least on the trademark perspective, it has impacted on budgets. On the patent side of things, I would say that budgets have not been impacted. Probably projects are continuing and that's because innovation, specifically on patents, is very important because it optimizes processes, and since you optimize processes, it will help at the end and the company's revenue and on what they are generating every day, and the resources that they generate. I would say that it has impacted on terms of legislation. Chile, at least in these months, they have been moving on bills that are mostly trying to regulate pharmaceuticals, especially prices on pharmaceuticals, especially on optimizing compulsory license processes that are currently under our law, but they have certain difficulties on how a compulsory license is granted, and also on creating new exceptions to patents, such as government use. So I would say that has been significantly very important in the past few months, because although these are bills that have been in Congress for a while, they realize that access to pharmaceuticals is important for governments. At least here in Chile, it's important for the Chilean government.
You had mentioned earlier that there was a lot of your clients had cut back on the trademarks and patent filing. What percentage would you say is going down because of that?
At least from on the trademarks perspective, I would say I would say 30% has been from our usual work has been affected because of trademarks.
On the patent side, what percentage would you say?
I would say, at least for the local innovation, of course, still budgets have been impacted, but although they try to continue with the projects, so I would say that probably 20%.
So you work with a lot of universities out there in Chile, and typically they are working on innovation for mining and agriculture. Is that correct? Can you give us a little background about why and what exactly they're focusing on?
Yeah, we work with a lot of universities here in Chile, and all their innovation are mostly on the agriculture side and also on biotech and creating vaccines, for example. And the agriculture side, they try to create solutions for creating compounds to fight pests, pesticides that are currently and normally affecting the crops from agriculture here in Chile, agricultural crops. So it's more into that. We work with a lot of universities here in Santiago and also from the south of Chile. And the south of Chile, its main activities from agriculture. And in the north of Chile, the main activity is mining. And more mining, we're mostly working with mining companies and service providers to mining companies. And those are the ones that are creating innovations on the mining field.
You had mentioned that innovation in Chile is being done a lot by universities with regards to mining, electrical engineering type work, and agriculture. What have you seen that being lessened, like on the research and development side, or is it more on like maybe not spending as much and filing in other countries? as much?
I've seen that some universities, exactly, they're not filing so much abroad. They are more into trying to, after they're done with all the research and creating this technology, they are trying to reach companies for development. And I think that's a huge challenge still for them to be able to connect with local companies and at the same time, even for foreign companies. And I think that continues to be a challenge for universities. There are not so many universities that have been able to do that so well. So at the end, there are some universities that are struggling with that. There are other universities that are more concerned to just getting patents and have it as a or being part of a ranking of how many patents they obtain each year. But I think that the challenge for them is always trying to take these innovations to the market itself. And for that, they of course need help from companies. If not, that's not possible.
So you manage a team, and you're working a lot with foreign, with other countries, filing during national phase, filing their patents in Chile. Have you seen a
Yes.
drop off in that work?
Slightly, there has been a drop off, and probably would be, it's probably because of well, COVID-19, and probably because has affected major countries, very big innovation countries such as the US and Europe, so as a territory. So that's the reason that I would say that it has impacted in a certain way because there's less budget for filing in Chile. Chile at least is not a priority within the region as compared to Mexico or Brazil in terms of population. We're still a small country, but we've seen at least in this month and last month that it has come up again from filings from Asia. So that in a certain way means that at least in China they are reactivating their economy and they're moving forward, and we've seen that with a couple of Chinese patents and from Australia and New Zealand. So it's moving. At least it is something.
So Sebastian, is there any untapped resources or any like opportunities now currently going on in Chile?
Yes, definitely there are untapped resources. I would say that the next big thing after copper, because it's a limited resource, would be lithium. We have plenty of lithium sites to be explored and exploited, and that's of course is very attractive to companies such as Tesla. That are currently creating batteries out of lithium for all their projects. I mean, one of Elon Musk's projects is to have battery packs in every single household to be able to provide energy that is cleaner to what are the current alternatives, since these batteries are connected to solar power. So I would say that lithium is one of the next big thing here in Chile of the untapped resources. And others are usual entrepreneurs that are creating innovations every day, mostly on the software side, on artificial intelligence, to be able to create products that we currently consume every day, but they pick ingredients that are not harmful or that are ingredients that you wouldn't normally consume because of maybe a religious belief or because of alimentary restrictions. So there are many entrepreneurs that are more on creating artificial intelligence to provide everyday solutions. So yeah.
You also, in your work, you're managing a team, working with many people around the world. How has this situation affected some of this international collaboration that you tend to deal with?
Well, it has affected, of course, and from a local side, if less patents are sent abroad in terms of business-wise relationships. Of course, reciprocity is not going to be the same in terms of due to this COVID-19 pandemic. And for the same reason, it kind of like affects in a certain way reciprocity with companies and firms abroad. But I would say it's only transitory. I mean, it's not gonna be forever. At least here in Chile, June and July are gonna be very harsh months in terms of the disease, and that's because we're in the middle of winter, and due to that, there are many other diseases that are moving around, the usual diseases, respiratory diseases. These are going to be very harsh months, but after that, I'm very optimistic that it will be it will be over in terms of business. Although there's gonna be a change in how we relate probably, but businesses at least will be able to continue with their normal operations.
Managing a team and now working from home for the past 2 months, 2+ months. Can you give us something a little bit about like how this has been for you personally, this situation in let's say 30 seconds or less?
How it has affected me in a certain way? Well,
If you don't mind.
no, I don't mind. I would probably, a lot of people will identify with this, but in less than 30 seconds, I could say that every single day feels like the same. From Monday to Sunday, it feels like the same. And although you feel that that you're able to produce more, that you are be able to be work in a more, how would you say, to be more optimized the way you work and be more efficient, and then therefore you're able to produce more. At the same time, it's very hard to separate work life from personal life. So probably something that a lot of people can relate to that.
Has it been an okay adjustment for you and your team, working from home, different, not being in the same office?
No, we've been able actually to manage it very well. At least in our firm, we always had the technological resources. As soon as the lockdown started, we were able to, every single personnel, every single person from our firm was able to take their laptop to their houses and being able to work from home. We have a very good, strong online platform that can be worked through VPN access, and we've been able to manage it pretty well, at least from the way we work. And we usually use tools such as Microsoft Teams to be able to communicate between us, and not only that, also WhatsApp, texting and messaging, and Zoom also too. So at least from work perspective, it hasn't changed at all because we've been able to work very well.
Is there anything else you would like to add that reflects how IP has been impacted by the global reality that we're currently living in?
Yeah, definitely. I think it has impacted in terms of how important it is pharmaceuticals, how important is access to pharmaceuticals, but at the same time, you kind of like see a trend on many countries trying to, or thinking about compulsory license, for example, due to cases of extreme emergency, and also countries legislating towards other sections such as government use. And this is important because also makes pharmaceutical companies realize that maybe a way to protect themselves, because at the end, pharmaceutical companies are expending a lot of resources to create these vaccines to cure diseases such as COVID-19, to realize that many other aspects of what they do can be protected, maybe not through patents, maybe through trade secrets. And I would probably tend to think that there could be a more focus on towards trade secrets on at least manufacturing processes, and companies moving to that due to the fact and as a response to compulsory licensing that could happen in many other countries to guarantee access to medication to the population, I would say.
Has Chile exercised compulsory licensing up to this time, or are you talking about future potential compulsory licensing regarding COVID-19 vaccination?
Uh, 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 Currently, no. Chile hasn't exercised any compulsory licensing, although it has made the previous steps towards that. Our compulsory license system, at least what's currently regulating our industrial property law, establishes that before the compulsory license, processes is started, there has to be a declaration by a competent authority. And there was a case months ago here in Chile where a competent authority, which is the Ministry of Health, they issued a declaration that that a certain drug for curing hepatitis C virus in a certain way deserve to be subject to a compulsory license. There were justified reasons, public health reasons that would justify the application of a compulsory license, the granting of a compulsory license over these specific certain drugs. But the thing and the difficult part of all this is that it was for a drug that affects less than 1% of the population. So there were not really cases of extreme urgency like the ones that our law requires. It was mostly on price consideration issues. It was mostly on access to by the population because at the end the drug was too expensive for the population. But that means that if for a pharmaceutical that affects less than 1% of the population, that is expensive, that is for a disease that is in a certain way is not a common disease. Of course, you're going to do that the same for a disease that affects the whole population or has the capacity to affect the whole population, such as COVID-19. So in a certain way, you open the door. If you are able to set the possibility of granting a compulsory license to a drug that doesn't affect anyone or affects less than 1%, you're opening the door for any other compulsory license over patents, any other patent. So at the end, I think it was misused. It was a case in where compulsory license at least were going to be misused because it was aimed to price consideration issues and not cases for extreme urgency such as a pandemic right now that we're having to COVID-19. So since it was misused in a certain way, it brings a lot of distrust to foreign companies here in Chile that the system could be wrong, used in the wrong way. So that's not good, at least from a patents perspective.